Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. Great article here from RCR Wireless. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So, this is an older article. Want to point that out right off the bat. This is back from March 6th, beginning of earlier in the year. So, I want to make this very clear, and this is very, very, very important. If you are a T Mobile customer and you are on the older device, you are not getting the best possible experience on the T-Mobile network, especially if you have an LTE device. But even now, as we are moving through four carrier aggregation, and now that the rumored the next iPhone, the 16 Pros and 16 Pro Max, or the entire lineup perhaps, is rumored to get the X75. I feel that's going to drive T-Mobile to move more towards five carrier aggregation. I know that's a thing now. The Galaxies can already do it, but I think now with the iPhone getting it, right, or rumored to get it at least, T-Mobile makes that more available at scale. They have the spectrum to do it. So even if you're on an older 5G phone that can only do two carrier aggregation, maybe three, you're not getting the same type of performance as someone with a newer device. Now, as I said in the previous video, I don't think that does anything, at least if you're on a 5G device. If you have two carrier, three carrier, you're likely still getting great performance for your day-to-day tasks, especially if you're an average consumer. But there's still more that you could squeeze out of the network if you have a newer device. Just want to point that out. But if you're on LTE, you're finished. You're done. I'm just being very honest here. They're reducing LTE down to the bare minimum very soon, and it's going to be what it's meant to be, and that's the fallback network. 5G is the network today. They have 87% of the traffic running through the 5G core. And that's SA. That's why I want to point out the four carrier, three carrier, five carrier. That's all on the standalone 5G core. Yes, the cores are converged, but LTE in the future will just be a drop back, if that is even the case, because T-Mobile is continuing to add sites and densify. So you might not even see LTE much anymore in the future when standalone is like fully developed and we're going to 5G advanced, T-Mobile optimizes, adds more sites. LTE will probably be a thing of the past. I mean, there's still going to be some IoT devices, smartwatches that will make use of it, and of course, there's still going to be older devices that make use of it, but the performance is going to be very lackluster, if any at all, because they're slimming. They're gonna refarm that spectrum to 5G this year, the rest of this year, and the next year, and they're gonna get very aggressive on it. I just want to make you guys aware and recommend that you get a newer device, preferably a 5G device, at least doing 3 or 4 carrier aggregation. That's just a recommendation. I mean, you do as you please, but I wanted to point that out. So that also means that T-Mobile is getting ready to generate even more capacity just using spectrum. And we're not even talking about C-band, DoD, none of that. That has to be deployed. We're just talking about what they currently have on air that they can refarm to bring additional boost to speed to 5G. So for my market, as an example, if they wanted it to, they have enough spectrum. So we got AWS in the AWS 1, and we have AWS 3 in my market. So they could move, once the iPhone launches, they could move the entire AWS 1 20 by 20 to NR, and they would still have AWS 3 10 by 10 on LTE if they wanted to, if they want to do it like that. And then they still have PCS to leave on LTE as well when they already moved some of the N25 over to NR. I mean, they have a ton of spectrum to refarm today as it stands without even tapping C-band or DoD anywhere. So we got to take that into consideration too. People are looking for updates on C-band, DoD deployment. While that's important, T-Mobile already generates a ton of capacity today. And that's without even having touched all sites with multi-gig backhaul, 10 gig circuits. They're still in the process of doing that. And they're already generating this type of capacity we're seeing today without C-band or DoD. Just keep that in mind. So if your sites are flying, if you're doing a gig or more, why would they deploy C-band and DoD? I'd rather see them spend money on deploying the FDD massive MIMO to make that more efficient, 5G advanced, all that good stuff. And I would wait for the C-band and DoD until you really, really, really need it, until the sites just choke. You know what I mean? And of course, you don't want to wait that long. You want to, when you see in the projection model, okay, these areas are going to slow down by 2026, then of course you start planning for C-band and DoD already. But that'll be a fairly quick deployment. It's not new sites that are needed. You just go to existing sites and upgrade, and then boom, you got more spectrum on air. So that's a very strong position to be in, rather having to sit back, plan for C-RAN, plan for macros because you're slowing down. T-Mobile can just go to the existing sites and throw more spectrum. So that's a strong position to be in, and that's actually financially efficient, because having to deploy more macros and small cells isn't cheap, and DAS systems and just offloading in general, that's not cheap. That's pretty expensive. So, and T-Mobile spent 10 billion just on C-band, so that was quite expensive, but it's going to come in handy. Trust me, it's going to come in handy. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that in today's video. T-Mobile still has a ton of spectrum that they can refarm to NR, which they are, in the process of doing. And I think 5 carriers will be more mainstream and at scale with the X75 on the iPhone. And then the Galaxies will move to the X80 or X85, whatever the next one is called, early next year. And that's probably going to have 6 carrier aggregation. And so T-Mobile, they can go to 6, they can go to maybe 7 without even C-band and DoD. So T-Mobile is going to be very strategic on that spectrum. Like I said, they have AWS 1 and 3 in my market that they can move to NR, which would already fill 6 slots. I even think they got 2 channels of PCS that they can deploy before even tapping C-band, because we no longer have DoD. They swapped that for the additional N41 they recently got. So still a ton of capacity that they can generate. They can still throw N41 onto the strand mounts and generate more capacity and reach that way, because LAA wasn't that great, the unlicensed spectrum that they deploy on those strand mounts. So once they rip those and add more N41 on all of them, that'll generate more capacity. Just tons and tons of spectrum to deploy, and tons of capacity coming to my market, and I'm sure others as well. So I just wanted to make that video just recommending upgrade to a newer device. I'm not telling you guys what to do, but if you're on an LTE device, you got to get out of LTE. It's going to be a rough experience, especially through 2025. It's going to be rough. It's just not going to be where it's at. 5G advance is coming, and everything else is increasing. We're going to get to 1024 QAM. 5G is where it's at for T-Mobile. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.